You're on.
So this is Team 2. Mai Zhang. Hi. Amanda Kite. Tefra Kowalski. And I'm Kirsten Lyons. Our site was the...
You're going to have to raise your voice.
Our site was Southfield development in Bloomfield Township, Pontiac.
Oy vey.
Translate for
I said oy vey.
So this is just a location map. Our site is this rectangle here, Pontiac, town center there, Bloomfield Hills down here. We're in the, kind of right in the middle of Bloomfield Township there. So.
You're really on the edge of Pontiac versus
Really?
the issue is, are you on the edge of Pontiac or in the middle of Bloomfield Township?
We're really on the edge of Pontiac. And our taxes are paid to Pontiac schools. So, for all intents and purposes, it's based on Pontiac. You know, the 270-degree circle arc there cuts through Bloomfield, Bloomfield Hills, West Bloomfield. So there are two very different demographics between Pontiac and Bloomfield. And I would characterize the two areas as Bloomfield is a older population, more affluent, better educated, and their land in that vicinity is mostly residential. And then Pontiac is urban, younger, industrial, more modest incomes and housing prices in those two areas. So you can see just to get, this is a huge spread in median ages. So in Pontiac you have a 30-year median age, and in Bloomfield you have 45 years old is the median age. So it's a big spread. And then they're pretty vastly different on pretty much every other demographic as well. So Pontiac is far more multicultural. Bloomfield is very homogeneous. You would say Bloomfield was more of a white-collar workforce, and Pontiac would be more of a blue-collar. And then education levels are also quite different. So, in the region, so we kind of, we gave you pretty much most of Oakland County on these four maps. And then we looked as far as the regional land use, essentially it's just a sea of residential. Okay. And then you can see that the purple in here is industrial, and there are certain concentrations of it in Pontiac, Auburn Hills, and then down here in Troy. The other, next up, please. Some of the great things about this site is that we have some big box, but upscale big box, right just south of our site, right here. And then we have some home improvement stores, big box home improvement up here. We also have a couple of golf courses up here. So we have lots of people going both ways. And then again, it's surrounded by this sea of residential, single family mostly. Okay. So right closer into our site, zoomed in a little bit, we have, it looks like there are a lot of restaurants, and there are, but they're mostly fast food. There are very few places where you can sit down and have a meal right in this vicinity. There are no drinking establishments, and there's a couple of health clubs. They're small and they're kind of off the beaten path. So these are some of the needs that we see through our research and through talking to people that live in both communities. And the ones that that I've already highlighted are the dining establishments. There aren't very many grocery and food stores. There are no bars or nightclubs. Not a lot of amusement. And then there are health services. The one that we didn't have in our Zoom event is the new Henry Ford facility in West Bloomfield. So.
We have about 3 minutes, okay?
3 minutes, okay. Okay, so this is what we see as that would be entertainment, recreation, mixed use with hospitality, restaurants, bars, and then other amusement activities. And Mai will talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Christy. And I will talk more about this best use. And the first one is the movie theater. We did a lot of research. About 67% of the population in America is movie goer. And 1/3 is from the Bloomfield Township and 2/3 from the Pontiac. The largest age group percentage of the movie goer was in the mid-age range of the Pontiac. But we found that the nearest movie theater in this area is about 8 miles away, and the nearest IMAX is about 20 miles away. So we need a movie theater. And then the second one is a hotel. We did a research about 23% of the Bloomfield's residents are from out of the state. And 40% of is from another country. And 25% of the Pontiac's residents are from the out of the state, and 6% are from another country. And there are many national and international corporations, as well as the Fortune 500 companies in this area. So we found that we really need hotels to support these businessmen. And there are currently no hotels in Bloomfield Township. Visitors must choose between a motel in Pontiac or stay in Troy or Southfield, some areas around it. So,
How about the Kingsley? Isn't there the Kingsley?
Excuse me?
The Kingsley Inn. That's
Kingsley.
really on Woodward, but there's also the Center Point Marriott, which I think is more
Yeah.
competitive. even
Center
than that.
Point Marriott too.
I think you had Center Point on there.
Center Point is how far away?
The center point is about 2 miles away, and the outside is 5
All right.
miles.
Okay.
The third one is a restaurant. There has a lot of eating place, but it's not a sitting down restaurant. It's a good restaurant. So the Bloomfield Township is encouraging the development of eating establishments. And the study showed that 18 to 24 years old people like to eat outside, and 25% of Pontiac's household are only one parent. So the family tend to eat outside. And the bars. The bars is very, especially the sports bars, is very good after work place for like a businessmen to go, especially when they after 40 years old. That's the biggest group of the age to go to the sports bar, and they not a large amount of the sports bar in this area, as you can see in this map, and also the nightclubs and the ages between 18 to 24, people like to go to the nightclub. And the nearest nightclub is in downtown Pontiac. It's not really in Bloomfield, so you can see that. Also the bowling alley. There has a little bowling alley around it, but it's not a big scale, and it's not can satisfy the market. So we decided to put a bowling alley in our site. And this also could attract more little bit upper class level people to go there, because who go to the bowling alley, they have the income about $71,000 a year. Also the mini golf. As a Christy side, there's some golf around our side, but it's not a mini golf. And we have a research about the most people who go to the mini golf also want to import it into another amusement park, or and like what I said before, the bowling alley. So it's more like an integrated amusement center.
You have 1 minute.
Sorry. And this one, I just want to say, we sell is not the happiness, we also sell the dream. Because this one, we want to import the art gallery in its site to attract the artists, the street dancer, anyone to come, like they have their artist dream to come here and to attract more visitors to this site. So that's our dream also.
All right, our site comes with some existing conditions that I'm sure
You have to come to the
everyone...
conclusion, tell us what you're proposing to do, okay, Amanda?
I am gonna flip right to that.
Thank
Yep,
you.
everyone knows where the
Sorry
site
to do
is.
this.
Yep, everyone knows what's there. Yep, it's a major failure. And back to the DEPRA
Oh, go ahead.
development program.
You're staying right there, just do it.
All right, this is our development program. We've got our hotel, our movie theater, our clubs, our restaurants, mini golf and indie track, as well as a little bit of boutique retail to bring in the daytime crowd, and with some apartments and lofts for those like live work artists. And then we worked out the square footages for everything for the floors. And then that's a little 3D map. We were able to save most of the buildings. We demolished 2 of them because the structure is
You're gonna
completely
demolish all the
compromised.
buildings?
No, we demolished 2.
2 of the buildings. Which
Because
2 are you demolishing?
We demolished their 2 steel, just completely exposed steel structures that have been in exposed steel for 3+ years. The more concrete structures we decided to save and try to adapt and reuse per our program. Condominium 1, perfect for the hotel. It worked out pretty well with our square footages. And then the big 2 important numbers are at the bottom. That shows the total construction demolition cost versus the return, which in an optimistic scenario would take 5.5 years to break even.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
It's another very tough project.
No, this one's even tougher than the last
It's, this is,
And then,
one.
it's a very difficult
In
project.
full disclosure,
Yeah.
we've been offered this project for $1 and turned it down.
I can't believe you.
So I just have to say that in full disclosure. I would say this is really complicated because you had an earlier map which showed the region. Did you? Because I think you got to put this in context. I think you did a good job. Can you go back to that? In terms of critiquing, you showed the whole area. And then not
Just
just like
one thing in
someone.
general I want to mention.
Go ahead.
We use driving time, and I think most people use driving time
Instead of distance.
rather than circles.
Yeah, but
It's all right to test with a circle,
Right.
but driving time is what's important, just generally, not just because of this development.
No,
So
you had another one
you don't have a
that showed
circle,
what
you have
cost
something
was.
that looks like this,
Oh, okay.
for the roads.
Wasn't sure.
Sorry.
We had a land use one.
Land use map and stuff, because it's helpful to do that. I think it may be right there. Okay.
There you go.
So what's really complicated, and again, you used my example, which is a good one, that 270 degrees of the market is this Bloomfield Hills market, and the balance of the market is the Pontiac market. And there's no question that when you walk in Costco, you see this Bloomfield Hills customer in Costco. And then when you walk in Target, you see the Pontiac customer in Target. And actually, the Target has underperformed their expectations when they built it. In addition, there was a theater here. And the theater was once the most successful theater in Detroit. The Showcase Pontiac that was on both sides of the street, and both sides have been torn down. There's a car dealership where one side used to be, and there's a Target where the other side was. And it declined precipitously because of security issues, to the point where they had an armed policeman there at night to try and keep order. Now, there was a theater under construction as part of this project. One of the structures in this is an Imagine Theater. Imagine's a
It was
local
actually,
company.
it wasn't
They
a built
destroyed
structure.
it.
They started to put the walls up, but they had to take the walls down due
Oh, because,
for
okay,
safety.
I didn't get that, okay, I didn't know that,
Blank
I'm sorry.
site now, so,
So,
yeah.
yeah, in theory, you're absolutely right. There is a market opportunity for theater, and a theater would then give you the opportunity to drive traffic to be able to put the restaurants in. And I think there is a need for the restaurants. What's complicated here, and this is an answer I don't really have, is there's not a lot of frontage along the street. This is really buried in the back of a lot of other things. So you don't have the opportunity to create a sense of identity very easily along the street. And they put the parking decks to a great extent along the street, so there isn't a lot of visual identification for retailers, which is a huge problem. It is a little bit of a confusion, or I don't have an answer to why the Bloomfield Hills customer goes into Costco and stops. She will not shop, and our customer is fundamentally a woman, no disrespect to the men, we care more about the women. She won't shop further up the street. She stops at Costco, and it may be the nature of the venue that it attracts based on lifestyle. You know, that customer that are looking at the meat at a discount, that's value to them versus a lower income customer that doesn't see that as value. They still think it's too expensive. So it's not clear to me what you do here. I think it's very risky. But one thing you didn't have a lot of, which is interesting, is residential around the lakes. And I don't know if there's enough demand for it. I agree with you. I don't know what the answer is. Because and the hotel really exists at the Silver Dome. I mean, and it's just at the center point.
What's the history of the lakes? Are they fed by wells, or what are they? Why are they there?
Some of them are man-made. I'm not sure which ones. Some are man-made, artificial, and then some are spring-fed.
They've been there a long time, though. They
So I'm not
as
sure
project
which ones
being
are which
conceptualized.
right now, but.
I mean, this is really tough, because I think the idea of theater and restaurants is probably the right approach, along with some residential.
Yeah, this is where we put the residential on the second floor of these buildings, and then put the retail at the bottom, and then this
That's
is
a
the
residential
hotel
building
here.
now, isn't it? Isn't that framed?
This is the
No.
residential building.
Yeah.
They were gonna build
And
high-end
then
residential.
this is where we moved the residential
There
along
isn't
the
gonna
lake.
be, there isn't gonna be any demand for hotel. I mean, the center point only does okay.
Yeah.
And they're closer to access to 75, which gives them greater reach. And then you have to get up to Auburn Hills, where you have the concentration. The hotels are gonna be driven by office. There isn't tourism in this area that's really gonna drive hotels. And there isn't any office market right near this. So it's very difficult to know what you could put in here, because the risk you run with the theater and the bars and all the rest of it, the entertainment stuff, and in theory, you have a cheap real estate, so you should be able to afford to make the kind of deals to put the bowling alley and everything else in. The problem is going to be security. Is, you know, who is the customer you're really attracting? If it's a Pontiac customer that's coming down, they're probably not going to cross shop or cross, you know, they're not going to go to the movies with the Bloomfield Hills customer and vice versa. And so I think it's complicated to know what it's very risky, because you actually don't know who the customer is going to be and what your opportunity is, because yeah, I mean, the Pontiac customer may be single family, may be single parent households, but they don't have the household income to be eating out of P.F. Chang's. So I mean, they'll be eating out on a fast food basis, and they're probably the ones that are populating a lot of the fast food places that exist already. So what you're trying to do is create a venue that'll have a more upscale dining along with theaters, which makes sense, but it's very difficult to know if you just go north of this site and it's very bad. And every time you take a retailer, and they drive north, they get scared as can be, they get in their car and they go home. Which is why they had so many problems, which is why it's sitting there, why we turned it down for $1.
There's some context of the different
Some
houses.
banker ought to be hung here.
What?
There's
I mean, this is why this happened. This happened because bankers are stupid. That's why this happened.
Well, no, it wasn't a banker in this case. In fact, there's no bank loan on this. In fact, what happened was, this was an investment fund called Centerpoint, which had a joint venture with DDR. And,
That's the same thing.
well,
It's the same thing.
and we were, this is a classic
Financial
line.
institution.
Actually, this is a good line for them to hear. We were called by the chairman of DDR at the time he was thinking of doing this, and my brother and I gave him all the reasons why we thought he was making a mistake, but he was only going to owe 10%. And he was getting all the upside of the fees and everything.
Yeah.
And he looked at us and said, you know, sometimes, guys, meaning my brother and I, you're too close to a market to really understand it. You lose the forest for the trees. And we said, you're right. There are times where you live in a market and you can't see the opportunity because you're too blinded by what you see every day. It's true, that happens. It wasn't true here.
Yeah.
So I I have a question. Does it seem to make sense for us moving forward to come back in 3 weeks with more progress on the theater aspect of this development and then the other ancillary?
I think so. I think it's the only option, but I think that it'll be.
Yeah.
I think that really the bottom line of it is a retirement home possibility in residential
Senior
unit.
housing,
Yeah.
Bloomfield.
Possible rental units along the lake, which I think is a good idea,
I agree.
and possibly using the frontage. And that's about it. I don't think that
Do you
this
think there's
is,
any hospital possibility? Have all that structured parking, you'd love to
It's
build a
such a
hospital.
large
Right.
campus.
That was,
that we
Amanda's
thought
original
about.
campus.
The problem is, I don't think there's any demand.
We got Beaumont, and it's huge, so
it's
close.
an amazing thing with
Yeah.
parking.
You got St. Joe's to the north too, that's the problem. You know, just on Woodward.
Hospital is zero.
It's a big site.
Issue.
I apologize to you for having been.
Next group, thank you very much.